It happened even last week. So where are we? We just want a very direct answer.
We are negotiating, and tomorrow the Chamber of Commerce is coming for a meeting to conclude this matter. We shall close it at that point.
Now, did you do what was its name, reverse? So that means already the items are at your warehouse, or how are you doing this one?
Now, this is not an emergency procurement. We followed it in the normal way, advert, then the documents come. So this is not reverse process. It is not reverse process.
So you want to, can you confirm to this committee that then a tender was advertised, issued, and the bid was won, and now what are you negotiating?
Chair.
Just want to be clear.
Chair, that is very interesting. We have a pandemic going on, and we appropriated that money that people can be prevented because masks have been proved to prevent COVID-19 infection by 80%. And now what we are here is not an emergency.
No, not only that, Chair, we are buying masks at 700 shillings instead of 250 because we are in an emergency. The same time, we are also saying the masks that we are making ourselves for the people of Kenya are not emergency. What kind of contradiction? And Chair, that is the first money we actually asked you, and some of us were in the ministry and told the minister that if you are going to protect Kenyans, give Kenyans who don't have money masks.
Honorable Chair, can I respond to that? Because I have details.
Yes, Juma.
Honorable Chair, I want to respond to that. When this procurement came on board for 300 million, I and the CEO were in the office. We wrote to the ministry because in the letter there was an indication that we consult the Chamber of Commerce. So we called the president of the Chamber of Commerce. We had a meeting in KEMSA where we agreed that we write to the PS seeking for an okay that will be able to procure the items directly from Chamber of Commerce, who will be able to mobilize the item from the various enterprises across the country. And the PS wrote to us, giving us an okay, and therefore I wrote an authority to the accounting officer, which was approved by the CEO, which is a direct procurement for emergency procurement for those items. And therefore, a bid was prepared, and the Chamber of Commerce was invited. By the time we were living in the office, the process was ongoing. So I can be able to confirm it is not a normal procurement.
So that tells us that it has not moved since you left office because the acting CEO seemed not to be aware.
Madam Chair, point of clarification. The underlying theme of why we are here is about process. So this is something that we had to look into to make sure that process is followed. So that is the answer. Chamber of Commerce are coming in tomorrow, and we'll be able to conclude the matter from there, because we did not want to end up in a similar situation like we are now. Thank you.
No, Chair, we cannot take that. We cannot take that statement. Now you are contradicting yourself. Procurement. That is an emergency stage. We understand you just joined in, but I think Juma has really clarified why we appropriated that money. It came from this chamber. So saying that is a process, we all know processes, but some processes are more of emergency nature that cannot be normal. That's what we are saying, and that's why we are surprised when you are saying it is a normal tender. So you have to own that. If you didn't get it right when they are going out, then you should say so, right?
Madam Chair, to confirm, I'm owning it. There's no contradiction here. We just wanted to ensure that due process is fully followed. So we will conclude this as fast as we can. Thank you.
When I see you, could you give us a time frame? Could you give us a time frame when this issue is going to be concluded? Is it tomorrow you're concluding it, and when are we getting the mask to the public?
Allow me to communicate officially to your office tomorrow.
At what time tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning.
When I see you, since you took over that seat, you've been trying to be very elusive. very elusive. You know, you try to be gaugy. And you know, we've been around for long, so we know people who can take the committee round. So be very careful we don't categorize you as a very elusive, you know, as someone who appears in the committee in a very clever way. So be very careful. What we are saying is that we don't want to be communicated tomorrow. You know very well. What are you discussing tomorrow? And if it is an issue of conclusion, you know how many days? 14 days? Is it 10 days? Yeah.
Honorable Member, Madam Chair, we are meeting in chamber tomorrow morning. I'll communicate immediately thereafter.
And I hope in your communication we have timelines on when we expect these masks to go out to vulnerable Kenyans.
It will have dates of delivery dates when we expect the first batch.
Very good. And Chair, you can now make your comments as you conclude. And also, Chair, just tell us about that, the 300 million. If you want to add a voice on that, proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The questions that were raised, or issues that were raised with me, are not many, and most of the other issues have been answered too. Honorable Wino asked the question, who is supposed to sign the commitment letters, and I believe that has been answered, that the procurement person, and then they were signed by the CEO after they had gone through the process. Dr. Nyikao asked to whom is the CEO answerable, and the CEO is answerable to the board. Now, I was asked, why did we send Mr. Murithi on suspension? That was coming from Honorable Jagagwa, who has since left. And the issue was, why did we send him on suspension, and yet he was not in the list involving procurement? Let me put it this way, that, like I've said, there are investigations going on. I've read out to you the letter from EACC. It is actually in the volume 1 folder of file that I gave out when I was here last, I think it was last week. And the investigations are going on. Now, Honorable Jagagwa would say that, that Mr. Eliud Murithi has nothing to do with procurement. I may think so too, but the investigations are ongoing, and once we get the answers to them, like I said candidly earlier on, what will happen then to Mr. Eliud Murithi, Mr. Charles Juma, and to Dr. Manjari would depend very much on the results of the investigations that are going on. But I do not think it would be good at this time for me or for anybody else to try to preempt the investigations that are currently going on. Honorable Professor asked me whether Mr. Juma did get to me directly. What happened, like I have mentioned to you, the 3 directors who confirmed to you, in fact, all the directors who confirmed to you, that I was sitting with them at the commencement of this COVID thing. And I told them that, listen, you have told me it's going to be emergency procurement. You are going to do procurement as an emergency, but I want to tell you one thing. And I told them, and they'll confirm with you, Mr. Juma has confirmed it. I told them to make sure that the procurements were done correctly. That if you ask them one by one, including the finance director who is not on suspension, they'll tell you I communicated that with them. And I told them from my own experience, because I've been a member of parliament, I've been a senator. I told them that in this kind of situation, at the end of it all, I told them you are going to see EACC here, you are going to see DCI here, and you are going to see so many people here, including the Office of the Auditor General, wanting to know what happened, if anything happened. And what I told them is exactly what is happening now. And I said it in good faith, because a lot of money was going to be involved, a lot of money has been involved. Has any money been lost? That is what the investigation is going on now. But I do recall that CS Senator Mutahikagwa yesterday said, and I have said it before, that from where I'm sitting, no money has been lost, but we procured these things, which were worth so much money, 7.6 billion shillings, and now we have a stock of 6.2 billion shillings in our warehouse, and that stock is there, and that is why I had invited you, and I still hope that you are going to do it one of these days, come and actually verify that the stock is there. Now, am I going to take responsibility as the chairman of the board? That's a question again. Or before I get there, did Mr. Juma get in touch with me? Yes, he did. He actually did not, I'm the one who got in touch with him, because on 30th of July, I called for a special board meeting to be held on 3rd of August. At this time, KEMSA was under the microscope. It had come so much at the microscope, every news media was talking about KEMSA. We were seeing memos were exchanged between the CEO and the director of procurement. We do not know where the media got them. We were also reading about them, and that's when I asked Mr. Juma to let me know whether indeed those memos were in existence and whether or not he was able to give me the folder. And that discussion and the discussions I had with the CEO, Dr. Manjari, informed the meeting that we had on 3rd of August, at which we were taken through board paper, I believe, number 12, at which we went through the COVID procurements one by one, how much how much we had now reached, and how they thought they were going to fund it. Madam Chairman, let me say this. We are talking about a procurement period of just about 2 months. An emergency procurement period of about 2.5 months, between 15th of March and end of April. You find that no procurements were done after May, except those which were extensions of the periods that had been given. And that's a very short time, because the board does not sit every day. We have not had a full board meeting since March. And when we meet again, we're supposed to have met in August. We did not meet because of all these meetings we've been having. We are going to confirm the minutes of the previous meetings, including the special board meetings that we had. So it is not possible that the board was going to be there and see every single letter that was written to every single supplier at KEMSA. All we did, and I want to say this at the risk of repeating myself because I think it is important, Madam Chair, is that we had a procurement plan and we had a budget. Then we had COVID coming in mid-March, 2.5 months to the end of the financial year, and the budget was almost completed. The question that you are going to have to determine, for which I have the greatest respect, is whether or not the management at KEMSA acted prudently to be on the safe side, to have these commodities in place, because nobody had, indeed nobody even now knows how long COVID is going to be lasting. We have stocks worth 6.2 billion shillings. You've said, and that is correct because you represent the people, that people still do not have masks. If we are allowed to offload the stocks that we have, there will be masks. The only question that to be asked, and this is the question we've been asking throughout, is there going to be any marketing, any trade loss? And yes, there's going to be a trade loss. I would like to request this committee to help us save the situation by offloading what we have so that the needs of the Kenya citizens are met, even as we discuss what trading losses there could be because of the market that has shifted pertaining to these commodities. So, am I willing to take responsibility, Honorable Professor? I'm willing to take responsibility as a chairman of the board, sure. If it comes to taking responsibility. And I'm not going to pretend that I will take responsibility the moment this thing, it requires me to take responsibility. That I can assure you from where I am sitting.
Chair, very quickly.
Allow him to finish.
If you could allow me to
just
finish,
on that particular
then
point,
you could raise the
Let
issues.
him finish, kindly.
I want to say this, Madam Chair, that I've been a chairman of the board now for just about a year. And when COVID came, in or about March, we had done a lot of work, both of reforms and others at KEMSA. We have UHC, and the board met as ought to have met, and I want to assure you, Madam Chair, this board is very proactive. And we have a relatively new board now. I am just about 1 year. The other 5 members are all of them new, except Dr. Mbuva, who sits as alternate to the PS, and the National Treasury representative of the PS. So we are a relatively new board, and we are very, very committed towards seeing reforms are done in KEMSA. And we are going through a very serious reformation. We're just finalizing our strategic plan, which we have done in conjunction with our global partners. First of all, the GOK, the government, our own government, government of Kenya, under which we are, and Global Fund and USAID, who are our partners in these matters. So we are not just, and KEMSA has in the meantime been growing. Dr. Manjari has told you, as has Mr. Karanja, the finance director, that we've grown from 2.2 billion to 4-point-something billion. That is growth. Then as we were settling in to deal with the reformation, COVID happened in or about March. And now it has just been about COVID since March. And the months of procurement were only those 2 months, 2.5 months of April and May actually, because there were no procurements in March, at least not much of them. So we have not been sitting back and watching. We have had meetings, and we know what is going on. But we as a board gave the management and told them this: you have to be prepared because of this COVID thing that has come now. And that one, I accept, the board told them to be prepared. Did we approve a bigger budget? No, we did not. No, we did not. There was no supplementary budget. Indeed, when we had board paper number 13, at which we were requested to allow an over-expenditure of 3.6 billion shillings to meet the liabilities because of the COVID-19 over-expenditure, the board declined to give that authority because, one, we needed to have a proper explanation, and two, because investigations were already going on